Good evening, everyone. I'm Councillor Mark Nagy, the Vice Chairman of the Planning Committee, and I'm pleased to welcome you to this committee, this meeting of the committee, which I will be chairing in the absence of the chairman. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. May I take this opportunity to advise you that if the fire alarm does sound, please remain seated and members of the Democratic Services team will assess the situation and give further instructions on the evacuation of the building if necessary. Tonight's proceedings will be webcast by the council, but if anyone else is intending to record these proceedings, can you please let me know now? Councillor Peter.
In honour of Councillor Mackay, I reserve my right.
Thank you very much. Right. I ask this question not to stop you, but merely to ensure that members of the public in the room know that this is taking place. I'd also like to advise members that they should only address the meeting by way of their microphones and to remind them to turn their microphone off when they have finished speaking. I'd also like to remind speakers that they have a 3-minute allotted time that we will be allotting at the beginning of each section. Okay, moving on to item number 1. We have 3 apologies for absences: Councillor Wilby, Councillor Jeffrey and Councillor Summerskill. Moving on to substitute members, item number 2, we have
Councillor Greenland for Councillor Summerskill.
Thank you. Anyone else? No. Okay. Agenda item number 3. Are there any visiting members?
Paul Harper for item 15 and item 18.
Thank you. Okay, item 4. There are no items recommended for withdrawal from the agenda. Item number 5, should we require the adjourned meeting, it will be held on 22nd of January 2026. Item number 6, urgent items. I believe we have 1 urgent item for item 17 that has been passed around. Has everyone had a chance to read that? Yeah, thank you very much. Okay. Also, I tend to take the written and verbal updates as urgent items as they contain further information relating to matters to be considered at the meeting. Item 7, disclosures by members and officers. Are there any disclosures by members or officers? Okay, item number 8. Oh, sorry.
For thoroughness, Mr. Chairman, I'm Chairman of Boxley Parish Council and Boxley Downs Ward member. Although item 15 does not apply to Boxley, it is the same organisation that recently moved from Boxley, and I'm therefore declaring that the applicants and the organisation is known to me from that context, but I have not been lobbied and I do not feel this has any impact on what I have to say this evening.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Okay. Item number 8, disclosures of lobbying. I will move around. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. I've been lobbied on items 14, 16 and 18.
None, Mr. Chairman. None, Mr. Chairman.
None.
None.
15 and 16, Chairman.
Items 13, 17 and 18. Thank you.
Item 16, Mr. Chairman.
None.
I myself have been lobbied on 16 and 18.
Chairman, apologies for being late. I've made ever such a mess with my tea, but I have no disclosures, nothing to declare, and I'm ready for off. Thank you.
Councillor Peter, did you indicate there?
Sorry, I have been lobbied on 15. Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson, for reminding.
No worries. Thank you, councillors. Okay, moving on to item 9. I move that the item on the agenda be taken in public as proposed. Is that agreed? Thank you. Unanimous. Item number 10, minutes of the meeting held on 18th of December 2025. I move that the meetings of the minute held on that date be approved as a correct record and signed. Is that agreed? Thank you. Item 11, there are no petitions this evening. So moving on to item 12, the deferred items. I call upon Tony Ryan, Planning Applications Manager, I call upon Tony Ryan, Planning Applications Manager, Development Management, to provide an update on the deferred items.
Thank you, Chair. Three deferred items. Mathurst Farm, we're currently dealing with ecology matters, and that will be reported back when those matters are resolved. The other two, which are the school annex and school lane and Hart Farm, we're hoping to report those back to the March committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, right. So we will start with the first agenda item on the list, item number 13, Full Land North of Pilgrim's Tower. I call upon Katie Altieri, Senior Planning Officer, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chairman. So this application is reported to committee at the request of Harwich and Parish Council, and it's for the siting of 5 shepherd huts to be used as holiday lets and includes the retention of 2 existing workshop and storage buildings. The application follows a previous refusal from June last year and is effectively the same development. The reasons for refusal centred around the development failing to demonstrate what impact it would have upon the protected species and highway safety, and it failing to demonstrate that it would achieve at least a 20% BNG. This resubmission has now provided the required information in all these respects, with KCC Biodiversity and the Highways Authority no longer raising an objection. This is subject to conditions as set out in the report. Further to this, there is local policy support for such a development. The relatively modest scheme would be largely screened from any public viewpoint and would not significantly harm the character and beauty of the countryside, and the development is considered to be acceptable in all other material planning respects. On this basis, a recommendation of approval is therefore made subject to the recommended conditions. This is the access when I visited the site, the gate set back. This is from the entrance looking through. The retained buildings are in the background there, behind the trees. Just an idea of the site. This is the access on the left, where the car is. This is looking north along Steed Hill from that access. This is looking south. And just to go through the plans, these are the retained buildings. There's 2 of those. Typical shepherd's hut. And that's the proposed layout. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 speakers on this application. The first would have been Councillor T. Sams, but they are unfortunately unavailable to make tonight's meeting. Instead, the statement will be read out.
Thank you, Chairman. So this is a statement from Harwich and Parish Council. This application comes before you contrary to the wishes of Harwich and Parish Council. Our views are contained within the report. We hope you've been able to take the time to read it. However, we would reiterate and point out the lack of any meaningful detail. The sewage disposal and management within storage tanks are unclear. The disposal and collection of rubbish recyclables also unclear. The provision of staff to manage the facilities unclear. The impact on ecology or wildlife unknown. There is no detail on the usage of these buildings, no time frame restrictions. And of course we could continue. However, we feel that this report seems to forget the location in an area worthy of protection. The Parish Council sees the protection of the Kent Downs National Landscape, formerly the AONB, as being fundamental, and this application does nothing positively to enhance or protect this environment. The report forgets this fact. Indeed, it offers the applicant a way forward that should not exist. It is also reflected in the language used, such as low-key scale development. However, it's interesting that the officer feels the need to apply no less than 23 conditions to this, which we feel is because the application is devoid of so much detail. This alone should be reason enough to refuse the application. Just looking at condition 3 is going to be difficult to administer, especially as this will be administered from a worker off-site. And we need only to look at Pilgrim's Retreat Caravan Park to see what that lack of control leads to. The other conditions we feel will not be adhered to or checked. It seems instead of saying that the land is worthy of protection, as we hoped, we can begin a process which, as it gathers momentum, will in fact become increasingly difficult to manage as time passes. We draw attention to the following, which is less than a mile away and in Harwich. It seems to us that the council has just whitewashed through this application. Less than a mile away, a planning application 23/501-948 for 5 holiday cabins in Hogbarn Lane. This council refused this under delegated powers. That development was, in its refusal, felt to harm and erode the scenic beauty of the Airbnb and failed to protect the tranquility of the area. That it will fail to conserve and enhance the distinctive landscape and scenic beauty of the Kent Downs AONB, which were contrary to policies within the Borough Local Plan and the MPPF, etc. Now, interestingly, the officer felt, as did the Parish Council, that the area was worthy of its protection, and any development, no matter how small, would have a negative effect, ultimately on the protected area. That application went into greater detail than this, but the... Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's time on the round there. Okay, thank you very much. So the second speaker we have for that tonight is Mr. Evans for the applicant. If you'd like to come forward.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to listen to our points on the planning application at Steed Hill. My name is Martin Evans and I'm here with my son James. I just wanted to address some of the queries raised by the Parish Council and neighbours who, by and large, have been very supportive of this application. This will be a small-scale, low-impact shepherd hut business for mainly weekend use for couples looking for nights or 1 or 2 nights away. Initially, we'll be starting the business with 1 shepherd hut, and if the demand of the business is good, we will then build and hopefully the remaining huts. Our vision is for the shepherd huts to sit seamlessly into the natural surroundings. We will be increasing the BNG by more than the minimum 20% that is required. This will be achieved by adding shrubs in the woodland, adding more diverse habitats, adding bird boxes and bat boxes, adding log piles, planting native trees, which will also provide extra screening from neighbouring properties. As I previously stated, we want to integrate the shepherd huts in the natural flora, as this was our vision from the start, and the shepherd huts will be positioned in a way as not to be overlooking neighbours' properties. The noise management plan that we will be implementing will provide a contact number of site management to surrounding residents to deal with any complaints. Notices will be put up requesting that guests respect the noise curfew set for 10 p.m. and if any problems occur, we will review this with the neighbours. No group bookings will be taken, i.e. stag or hen parties. We will also implement a light management plan. This will incorporate outdoor lighting to be on PIR timers. All outside lightings will be downward facing. All huts will have blinds installed on windows and doors to prevent light pollution from inside the huts. Our waste management plan, our preferred choice would be of cesspit, but this is not acceptable. Then we will look at install effluent tanks for each hut. That would be empty every 2 to 4 weeks, depending on usage of the hut. These tanks are fully smell-proof and will also have sensors fitted to indicate when they are near full and need to be emptied. Bin storage on site will be emptied weekly by a licensed waste management company. Surveys. We have had road surveys completed which were positive. This includes vision displays and speed tests, and KCC Highways have raised no objections to the application. As well as this, we have had tree surveys and BNG reports carried out by certified contractors and no objections were raised. And finally, advantages for the local community. We will be looking to take on staff to help with the day-to-day running of the site. The job opportunities will be offered within the local community, therefore creating more job opportunities in the local area. Local pubs, restaurants, takeaways, amenities will be advertised in the shepherd huts for guest use, so this will hopefully generate more revenue for the local community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have Councillor Harwood, motion to speak.
Thank you, Chairman. I remember the previous refusal, and because of that, I was a little bit concerned about the sensitivities of this site being within the national landscape and set within woodland. However, took a look at the woodland and I took a look at all of the paperwork that's gone with it. And it's clear that the area of woodland in question has a very simplified vegetation structure. As you can see from the picture, it's trees of the same age and then no ground flora. And having read all of the B&G paperwork that's going with it, it does look like the management plan that is proposed will rehabilitate the woodland. So I think the applicant is right that it will deliver more than 20% biodiversity net gain. I'm very cognizant of the concerns of the parish council because of other issues in this area, let's say, which have been problematic, but I've ploughed through an awful lot of documents in relation to this, and I think officers have covered everything in the way that they do, and frankly, it's a fairly minor hospitality tourism application. It's not like the kind of trailer home type schemes that we've seen elsewhere in the locality. So with all of that together, with one very small additional condition, which is there are 2 trees planned to be felled as part of this, and I could not find in the conditions that the cordwood from the felled trees is maintained in a quiet corner somewhere on site, and just, you know, it may be, but just to be belt and braces, can we add to the biodiversity condition that the cordwood from the 2 felled trees is maintained on the site in partial shade? But with that, I'm happy to move that we do grant permission as per the papers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Can I just clarify which condition you specifically mean? I was thinking of adding it to the landscaping condition, or would you?
Yeah. I mean, on the landscaping condition, it's just in the ecological enhancements, it talks about log piles and so on, and it seemed to link to that. So I'll leave it down to the discretion of officers, but as long as those trees that get cut down are left on site, I mean, that's the key thing.
Okay, do we have a seconder on the motion at all? Yeah, Councillor Spooner. Okay, in that case then, we can move to the vote if I see no one else indicating. So, all those in favour? Thank you. Okay, that's 11 votes. That's unanimous. Thank you very much, 4. Okay, moving on to agenda item 14, full land at rear of 187 Linton Road. I call upon Katie Altieri, Senior Planning Officer, to introduce the report.
Sorry, I go starred item.
This one's it is, isn't it? Sorry, apologies. I was only expecting the one later on. Apologies. Would anyone like this item introduced? No? Okay then. Yeah. Oh, microphone. Sorry, microphone. Okay, just move the record. Okay then. In that case, we just move the recommendation as per the chair, and we can move on to the next thing. Is that seconded at all? Yes. Sorry, Councillor Peter. Right, apologies. We'll get there. Sorry, that's right. They have this. Okay. Okay, in that case, right, we have a motion, we have a seconder. We'll move to the vote. All those in favour? That's 11 and that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Apologies for that. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. Item 15, Full Rock House Hotel, 102 Tunbridge Road. I call upon Graham Parkinson, Planning Officer, to introduce the report.
Well, that's councillors. This is a retrospective planning application. It affects the Rock House Hotel, 102 Tunbridge Road, Maidstone. And retrospective planning application is to continue the use of the premises as an osteopathic teaching clinic, involving a change of use from the previous use of the building as a hotel. Now, I'll make it quick. Minimal internal changes are proposed. There's a couple of external changes involving the creation of pedestrian access to the main adjoining complex, involving partial removal of a boundary wall and relining of a parking space to provide 2 disabled parking spaces. The building has 4 floors, which will be used as a combination of treatment, storage, training and reception areas. And the hours of use will be the same as the adjoining clinic. Representations, responses, we've had no adverse comments from adjoining neighbours. Environmental health don't object, and neither do Kent Highways, don't raise any issues on highway grounds. In terms of the use, falls in the Maidstone urban area, occupies a sustainable location close to services, location is acceptable in terms of its use. A permission was previously refused in 2024 to convert the building to flats. Though this was refused, though the hotel change use was refused, it was accepted that the hotel use was no longer viable due to competition from larger operators, and this remains the case. The use involves an expansion and improvement of the existing training use. The previous hotel use only employed 3 full-time, 1 part-time staff. The current use employs 10 full-time staff while providing additional higher education opportunities for local residents. Bear with me. The use therefore satisfies key provisions of the local plan policy LPS RP11 by meeting an identified need for osteopaths while strengthening the economic base and viability of the urban area. In terms of the character and appearance, those involve some impact on existing boundary treatments and loss of existing landscaping, and conditions are recommended to address these concerns, but the main changes are internal, and there's very little work to be done to enable this change use to continue. In terms of amenity, given the nature of the use, it doesn't appear to have resulted so far in any material impact on local amenity. A condition is recommended the use remains of an osteopathic teaching clinic only and for no other purpose. In terms of highways, parking and servicing, the existing hotel use has 4 parking spaces. These have been replaced by 2 disabled parking spaces. However, given there is an access through to the adjoining parking area serving the main complex, which has over 36 parking spaces and 2 disabled parking spaces, that no increase in pupil numbers of staff is proposed, and in the absence of any adverse comment from Kent Highways, no harm to the free flow of traffic or highway safety of use of Tunbridge Road is identified, contrary to policy. In terms of impact on protected species, net gain and ecology, there's only a change of uses involved with minimal external changes, and that the forecourt is already mainly hard standing. No harm to protected species or the habitat is identified. Regarding BNG, as a change of use is involved, and that the remainder of the application site is hard standing, means there's no trigger requiring BNG. However, the use does not obviate the NPPF requirement to seek to improve biodiversity in and around the development where possible, and as such, it is recommended that the condition is imposed to secure this. Now, in terms of the visual impacts, I've got an aerial photograph here. Hopefully you can see the cursor. This is the site. This is the existing parking area, and this is the adjoining complex. This is the appearance of the site as is currently the case. And as you can see, there's the application site and the adjoining lands, which will this support is shown outlined in blue. The recommendation is for approval, subject to a number of conditions, seeking to retain its use as a sort of education establishment, and also seeking to secure BNG. I think that's all I need to say at this stage. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have 2 speakers for this agenda item. I'll start by calling Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Chair. The reason I called this application in, as it says in 4.02, is to be determined by the planning committee, is because the conversion was all done without any planning permission. You reject the previous planning application for flats was turned down, and subsequently the property's been converted and being used without the benefit of planning permission. And I just feel that's quite a point of principle. I don't think we should allow any person or any organisation to operate buildings without the benefit of planning permission. In this case, I don't have an issue personally with the osteopathy clinic, but it's a point of principle, and the report hasn't addressed, there's no attempt to address why planning permission was not sought at the point when the property was purchased by the European School of Osteopathy, or in advance of them wishing to then actually use it for educational purposes. And the fact that the report doesn't address that, to me, highlights the fact that people can do what they like in this borough and just subsequently apply for retrospective planning permission. I say it's not this one particularly, but it's a point of principle, which I think the council, if it's not going to be firm on people using properties which it doesn't meet the planning criteria, and then subsequently getting planning permission for it once it's already operating, this could have been any type of usage. And so I just think that's why I've called it in. I don't have a problem with the actual, what they want to do with the building at all. I fully support that. But I think I would just like to understand why planning permission is being sought after it's all been done. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the second speaker, I call Mr. Blivin.
Thanks, Chair. Good evening, members. As you've heard, this application relates to the former Rock House Hotel, which was closed and sold by the previous owners, having become unviable. A previous application for residential conversion of the building was refused due to the standard of accommodation proposed. However, no objections were raised by the council on matters of principle or the loss of the hotel use. This application seeks to bring the building back into active use, contributing directly to local education and healthcare offering. The European School of Osteopathy provide an invaluable service to the local community and beyond, offering a high quality, higher education and training delivered in a live clinical setting. This in turn provides accessible and affordable treatments to the public. The hotel site lies adjacent to the existing premises on Tunbridge Road and directly addresses their needs for additional space. The former hotel building, now renovated, provides modern and more accessible treatment rooms, which enhances the existing offering and in turn frees up the school's existing clinic building to consolidate and deliver all teaching on a single site. At present, staff and students travel off-site for some teaching, meaning this proposal will significantly improve operations to the benefit of staff and students. The new building also improves on the existing clinic space by providing a greater number of ground floor accessible rooms, helping to reduce waiting times and provides a broader offering for children's clinic appointments and those with access requirements. The proposal does not result in an increase in the number of treatment rooms, staff, students or patients attending the site, but will remove the need for travel between sites and the wasted time and costs associated with that. Students are not permitted to park on site and are actively encouraged to utilise public transport, making the most of the many bus and train options the sustainable location affords. As such, vehicle movements to and from the site are not anticipated to increase. As the report before you confirms, the proposals are wholly consistent with and supported by policy, and no objections from any statutory consultee or members of the public have been received. As we've heard, it has, however, been called to committee as the use has already started. Whilst understanding entirely the points raised, that in itself is not material to the assessment of the merits of the application in planning terms. The school submitted the application prior to the use commencing, and this is not therefore a situation where an applicant is seeking to circumvent due planning process. Rather, the teaching clinic was opened by the school in the full knowledge this was ultimately be subject to the outcome of this application and the associated risks that come with that. The school welcomed the opportunity afforded to members to consider the application and the detailed report prepared by officers. The need for the space is, however, pressing and the benefits significant. And in the absence of any policy conflict, we hope that members are able to support officers' positive recommendation this evening and in turn support the long-term success of the school to the benefit of the borough more widely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we go into the debate, I'd just like to ask Tony Ryan to address the issues that were raised during the motions there.
Yes, Councillor Harper raised the issue about the application being retrospective. Retrospective applications aren't ideal, but the fact that it's retrospective isn't a material factor in the sort of assessment of the merits of this application. If members decide that the application is unacceptable, then it will be an enforcement issue and it will pass to the sort of planning enforcement team. That isn't the fact that they haven't applied before they've done the work is unfortunate, but it's not a factor in the decision making. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have three members down to speak, starting with Councillor Thompson, moving on to Councillor Harwood-Cleater.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. At 6.11 in our papers is the part of the main focus of my remarks. I'm not sure that I knew that there was a London Road character assessment before I read this document, but I absolutely do now, despite the fact that we're in Tunbridge Road. The clues leading up to the conclusion on page 46, the application 7.02 is acceptable in relation to character and setting of the wider area. I'm not so convinced, Mr. Chairman, that that is indeed the case. I welcome all of the positive aspects of this application and change of use. I would say that I'm very much in favour of education, I'm very much in favour of health, I'm very much in favour of business. All of these things are priorities of this council, but we aim to do lots of things at once. A portfolio responsibility I share with my colleague for heritage. I have long admired, I will say without shame, the mixed architecture of the wall that has been reduced in the car park outside the hotel that was separating it from the school next door. A wall that told a long and mysterious history of architecture in this area. So I was more than disappointed to see it being significantly reduced as this change of use took place, and I wished I'd had the foresight to have said something about it while it was still coming down, because there was clearly a complicated story there, and what is left of it is now of less architectural merit than what was there before. Other walls along the Tunbridge Road are actually being restored as we speak. There's a considerable works on the retaining wall just outside the Methodist Church. Considerable effort is being put, I take it, to restore that to its present condition. Whereas at this site, we've lost the coping, we've lost the brickwork, we've lost the interesting and heritage-rich mix of that area. So frankly, Mr. Chairman, I'm proposing that at least the coping of that wall is replaced, because the wall outside the main osteopathy site, the oldest one, that's all completely intact. It's ragstone walling. Its original coping is all present. There are few enough remnants of the heritage assets in this area as it is, and it's a significant loss. What's been put in there is a cast concrete mortar slab that is absolutely a loss to the character and amenity of the area, reduction of the character space. And while we're about it, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to point out that there are 3 different designs of signs now at this building. A modern 2-tone sign outside the original building that's clean and attractive. There's a new sign on a post outside this building with a white background that seems to me of a very high standard. I regret the rather oversized blue sign that is on now the front of Rock House that does replace the unattractive yellow awning that was been removed. But what's been put there now, I feel, does not do any favours to this. It may well be that you'll tell me that this isn't relevant to this particular moment, but since we're about it, I may as well point that out. So very pleased to see the change of use and very supportive of all of those things, but I would like to see, as it says in 6.11, speaking about defensible space and so forth, wherever possible, traditional boundary enclosures should be reinstated. Others may wish to go further than me to actually question why so much of that, what I would say is heritage wall, has been removed, because I'm not pleased to see it go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That looks like that is something we could add in the recommendations there. So we can have that going. Correct? Yeah. Okay, no problem there. So moving on to Councillor Harwood.
Thank you. I'll try and be brief. I mean, as Councillor Thompson has rehearsed, it's less than ideal how we've got to where we are, but we need to use this planning application to regularise the concerns that we have. And actually, the core of this building is very attractive, and some of the later additions less so. So therefore, I think one of the other challenges we've had with this site is that because of the previous use, it's completely surrounded by tarmac. And as case officer outlined, that there's an opportunity to bring back more of a kind of domestic boundary here, which is more in keeping with the surrounding residences, they're kind of more traditional kind of wall and hedge or whatever. So I just wanted to ensure that in terms of the conditions as set out, that we make them as prescriptive as we can. And I think one of the points is the flank wall that's been described, which has been reduced, about restoration as far as we can. But also I think we need to set out what it is we want along the front. And I suggest that what it is, it's a low wall of railings with a hedge along it, because that's essentially what we've got on the other residential properties either side. Just get back a good old fashioned privet hedge around a Victorian building. I mean, that's what works. So I think we need to set that out in more detail than we want a scheme, because we don't know what the scheme of landscaping would end up being. And then just the other point very quickly is that it talks about a scheme to improve biodiversity on the site, but it does not set out how we will do that. And because it's basically tarmac surrounding a building, it's very difficult to work out. We've already got the landscaping covered. I think what we do know is that this site is right at the centre of one of the 2 swift colonies in Maidstone Borough. So therefore, I think what we need to do is to ensure that swift nest box or boxes are introduced under the eaves of this building. And that way we're delivering an acknowledged lift to the biodiversity of the area, and we're setting out exactly what we want on the site frontage, which I think is really, really important to get that right and to restore that frontage. Thank you. And with those 2 amendments, I'll happy to move that we grant permission.
Thank you, Councillor Harwood. Councillor Cleater.
Well, as we're doing it in the Miss World reverse order, we put their hands up first. Thank you. I don't like retrospective planning applications. We all know that, because some people do use it as a way to get round, but it's in the rules. They're allowed, much as I hate them. But this is actually an application that's provided a needed service. And can I just say as well, although it's nothing to do with planning, an affordable service for people who very frequently don't have access. So I'm minded, you've moved it, you said, yeah, I'm minded to second it, taking into account the conditions that have been laid out. But I think really, I fully understand why Councillor Harper wanted it to come to full committee, because I think a lot of us share the concerns of retrospective planning applications. However, on this occasion, I think that this is something that's quite worthy. It provides a service. It's certainly an improvement on what was there before, because I used to visit that site quite a lot when I worked in adult social care, because it was basically used as temporary accommodation, which was totally unsuitable for the people who were in it. So this is something that will bring a benefit, but along with the suggestions that Councillor Harper and Councillor Thompson have said. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I hate, it's not the right word. I don't like retrospectives either. We have to live with them, unfortunately. But I think there are genuine reasons here. And my emphasis really, and I support what Councillor Harwood and Councillor Thompson have proposed. I have no problem with that. But my issue here really is that this is a very important economic business for the borough. And we want more businesses like this in our borough, and it provides employment, and a very high quality employment, I would suggest, in our borough. And that's my reason for supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay then, so I have a proposer and a seconder. So based on the outline that we make, the recommendations to the proposal in regards to the biodiversity, the front wall, the swift boxes, if we add those as part of the recommendation, that's
may I bring the committee's attention back to the fact that it isn't only the original wall that I spoke about that now has concrete coping layer on it. May I then further suggest that all of that concrete layer is replaced with original style ragstone coping so that it all matches. Thank you.
Okay. So are these we can add these recommendations to things. So based on the recommendations that have been proposed by the committee, if we add those recommendations in, so sorry, just to clarify, so the changes that we're looking to make to the recommendation are the front wall, the Swift boxes that are added, the hedge line running along with the front wall, and the addition of the biodiversity on the site around the paved concrete area. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you very much. So I don't see anyone else motioning there. So we have a proposer and a seconder. So we can move to the vote. All those in favour? Okay, that's unanimous. That's 11-4. Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item 18, land to the rear of 244-250 Upper Fant Road. I call upon Will Fletcher, Senior Planning Officer, to introduce the report.
Thank you. So the application tonight is along Upper Fant Road to the rear of the terrace properties of 244 and 250 Upper Fant Road, and seeks the erection of 2 new dwellings. The site is accessed by an undercroft vehicular access, which serves a number of lock-up garages at the rear of the site. So here's the proposed site plan, the 2 dwellings, got off-street parking, proposed side elevations, and the proposed front and rear elevations. So the buildings are kind of orientated to the rear. And here's the 2018 proposal. So these applications here have been to planning committee previously. There hasn't been any changes, just applications were not implemented. So the site was previously used as a vehicle repair business, which permission was granted for in 1949. This has ceased operating some time ago, and the site is now derelict, with only the remains of the hard surfacing present, with colonising plant species present. The application the proposed dwellings are of a contemporary design, being simple, timber-clad utilitarian buildings with lean-to roofs and corrugated sheet metal cladding. So much of the detail is in the officer report, so I'll just try to focus on the views of the site and how they impact on the nature reserve. You have the rear retaining wall here, viewing southeast and viewing southwest. So there's quite a drop off from the application site to the nature reserve, which is immediately to the south of the application site. So this is viewing southeast over the nature reserve. So it is fair to say that dwelling 2, which is located immediately adjacent, this drop off would have quite commanding views over the nature reserve. So sorry members, here's the view towards the site from the southeast. So this is about as close as you can reasonably get. So you can just about see the wall, the retaining wall in the middle through the trees. Got different routes through the nature reserve. So this is one route which is a bit closer to the site here. So you can just about see the wall would be about here. Here's a view which is further away. So during winter, there'd be some visibility, but during the summer months when the vegetation's grown up, it'd be screened. This is addressed within paragraphs 6.13 and 6.15 of the delegated officer report, which does accept that they will be visible from the nature reserve, the buildings, but due to the materials, which will over time with weather, and the functional appearance of the buildings, which reflects the previous commercial use of the site, it wouldn't cause visual harm. The site benefits from an existing access, and plans show 2 off-street parking spaces for each dwelling. Spec path tracking plans have been submitted to show there's adequate vehicle access to the site. On the basis of lack of visual harm at previous permissions on the site, we're recommending approval as per the officer report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have two speakers on this item as well, starting again with Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Chair. As is point in paragraph 4.02, you can see the reasons I called this in, why I don't think it's appropriate to give permission tonight, but given previous planning permissions granted on the site, one assumes it's probably going to be approved tonight. So I would like just to address a couple of issues linked to it. I think we need to think about the fact that whilst for the people living in Upper Fant Road, it's sloping down towards them, so they have a minimum sort of impacts on them. It's going to present almost like a cliff face from the nature reserve, because this land is above the nature reserve where the land is falling away. We also need to note about the water supply, because this is located in a water supply stress area, and we only have to know what's happened over the last week or so to know that we've been lucky in Fant and Oakwood not to have our water disconnected, but who knows what's going to happen in the future. I'd like to see one new condition and a tightening of the current one, bearing in mind it was a motor garage site. So all motor garages tend to have very polluted land, and the level of pollution here won't be known until the current concrete base, which the garage was on, is starting to be demolished and so on, and the materials taken away from site. So one of the things I'd ask you to do is on page 90, where we have condition 20, which is around removal of pollution from the site, is to consider tightening that up and perhaps looking at a temporary bund to prevent any exposed contaminated material flowing downhill and onto the nature reserve. As a member of the Fant Wildlife Group, I've been working for a long time to help enhance the nature reserve, and we do not want to see any potential inadvertent pollution onto the site. So I'd ask you to tighten up that condition, but also, and Keith Atkinson will speak more, to add an additional condition requiring full details of all the drainage connections to be agreed prior to any development proceeding. As we know, drainage tends to go downhill, and as this site's located below Upper Fant Road, its drainage and has to go down to the nature reserve. And there are sewers running underneath the nature reserve, but there's no reference to it here. So that's why I'm asking for an additional condition that we completely understand the nature of the drainage prior to any works commencing, just to ensure that over time we're not endangering again our nature reserve, which is one of the few in the urban area. So I accept this will most likely be given
Councillor
permission
Harper.
tonight.
I'm afraid that's time.
But just do those two conditions, please.
Thank you. Just in regards to those conditions, can look to amend item 20 so that it allows for sorry. Yes, sorry.
Yes, sorry. You can put in the condition that they can sort of knock the building down before they do the testing. So that then allows them to remove the slab and sort of test under the slab. So it's just such tweaking the wording of the condition to allow the works to start and the buildings on the site to be removed, and then they can do the testing under those buildings.
Okay, moving on to our second speaker, we have Mr. Atkinson for Fant Wildlife Group.
Hey, thanks for letting me speak. Councillor Harper has pretty much preempted what I was going to say, but I'll say my little speech anyway. I'm here in my capacity as chair of Fant Wildlife Group, which runs Fant Local Nature Reserve, which is overlooked by this application. Before I start, as a matter of record, paragraph 6.40 of your report states there is only one pond within 500 metres. In fact, there are two. Now, as a group, we are not opposed to this application. We do have a couple of concerns, though, which is pretty much what Councillor Harper's outlined. As you know, this site directly overlooks the nature reserve. We are concerned that during the process of completing the demolition of the existing old structures and the building of the new, that a lot of rubble and rubbish will be created. We would therefore like to see a specific condition added that any rubble and rubbish that falls into the nature reserve is safely and completely removed. Secondly, there is no mention of sewerage disposal. In application 18503763, there is a letter from Southern Water dated 28th August 2018, which says the applicant requires a formal application for a connection to the public foul sewer. However, there is no mention of foul sewerage and surface water disposal in the current application, despite the fact that in the report to Planning Committee of 29th of November 2018, there's specific reference that it's under condition 17, although this seems to have been amended to an informative in the planning decision notice dated the 8th of March 2019. This is also dealt with as an informative under application 21-505-425. The group would therefore request that a similar condition or informative is added to the current application. Two other points to finish on, which I acknowledge aren't relevant to the nature reserve. First, I note there's no mention of electric vehicle charging points, despite these being shown as condition 12 on both 18-503-763 and 21-505-425. Lastly, condition 8E has the phrase when the business is closed. As the proposal is for two private dwellings, I think this might need amendment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Just the conditions have been requested. That's acceptable. We can sort of they've planned the revised contamination, bund to prevent any material falling into the nature reserve. And the third one, hopefully Debbie's vehicle charging points. That's covered under building control now, so that'll be addressed.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak yet? Councillor Harwood.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
sorry,
William.
The drainage condition. Yeah, that's possible.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor.
Yeah, just a contextual question, really. I remember the debate previously in 2018, and then it was renewed in 2021. I don't recall it being a self-build at that time when those permissions were granted, and now it is. The application says it's a self-build, which of course means that you don't need to deliver biodiversity net gain. I just wanted to check with officers that this is a genuine self-build and not a device to get around the fact that it will need to provide 20% BNG, which of course it didn't need to do in 2018 or 2021. And reading in a lot of the planning magazines and things at the moment, the number of self-builds has gone through the roof. I think that the two might be linked, but I just wanted to check out that this one was okay.
I mean, I can only say that, yeah, we have condition that it be condition 11, which requires the applicant to build it as a self-build. So if Tony, my colleague, would like to comment any further.
Yes, you are. You are right. We've had a big spike in self-build applications. I think it's trying to find a way of ensuring that those applications are actually self-build, and it's down to enforcement as well in terms of enforcing the requirements of that planning condition. There's also another check which happens when post decision in terms of SIL, because if you apply for a SIL exemption because it's self-build, they do very detailed checks at that post decision stage.
Just one more point. It does appear to be a different applicant in this case as well.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak on the matter at all? No? Okay, in that case then, if we add the amendments that are based on the concerns raised by the speakers in regards to the development, I propose that we move to the vote. So I move the application be, sorry, I recommend that the application be approved as so sorry. We'll start again. I moved that we propose that we grant permission as per the papers. Is that with the changes made as proposed? Is that agreed? Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Sorry, we'll get there. Is that agreed? Is that? Yeah. So, Councillor, yes. Sorry, Councillor Daniel. Okay. In that case, then we'll move to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Those abstaining? Okay, final vote is 8 for and 3 abstaining. That's approved. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 17. This is listed as a starred item for full land east of the Homestead Gravelly Bottom Road. Would anyone like this introduced? No? In that case then, I propose that we move to the vote as per the papers. Yeah. That's Councillor Harwood and Councillor Cleater. Okay, moving to the vote. All those for? That's 11. That's unanimous for. Thank you. Okay, last item on the bill, item 16.
Chair, can I ask a question? Because I don't know whether everyone else was, but we were copied into an email asking from the parish council asking that it be a starred item. Yeah, it was. Sorry, just for clarification.
Sorry to kill the fast moving vibe of this evening, but could I have this one introduced, please? Because there's something I want to bring up just about the lighting. Thank you.
Okay, no, so fine. So in that case, as proposed by Councillor Round, we'll open up the motion. So I call upon Francis Amacor, Senior Planning Officer, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, members. Yes, this application seeks alterations to the development which was permitted on appeal in December 2024. The appeal decision approved 8 static mobile homes, 4-day rooms and with associated access and parking. The changes proposed in this current application includes alterations to the layout of the site, widening of the vehicle access, reduction in the size of the application site from 6,608 square meters to 5,008 meters square. It also includes reduction in the off-street parking from 20 to 14. The application states that the site layout has been amended due to the existing bank and tree line adjacent to the existing menage. The proposed changes will not result in a significant visual harm to the character of the area. The changes to the layout and shape of the site are acceptable in respect of neighbor amenity. The reduction in the number of car parking spaces and widening of the vehicle access are also acceptable. So on your screen is the application site. Is the application site. It's along Stourbridge Road, close to its junction with Maidstone Road. The next picture on your screen is a view of application site from Stourbridge Lane. This picture is followed by existing boundary treatment along Stourbridge Lane. This boundary treatment is to be retained as part of the development. The next picture is the approved site layout. So this is what was approved by the Appeal Inspector in December 2024. This final image is the proposed site layout. The number of caravans and day rooms remain the same. As you can see, the caravans have been pushed much closer together, which we believe is a more effective use of the site. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In that case, Councillor Round. Sorry. Councillor Russell.
Oh,
sorry.
Now I'm the mayor. No. Yeah, so nothing to do with the layout. Obviously, I know this is approved by the appeal. It is purely to do with the lighting. So it says in paragraph 2.03 on page 53 that the applicant has stated he's commenced the work on 1st of May 2025, but work's not been completed. There aren't any caravans currently on the site. So then if you look at the conditions that we've got in the potential granting of permission section, you've got condition A, and it says prior to any of the approved caravans being brought on site, so this is the situation where we are, you should have existing external lighting on the boundary of and within the site. See condition 13. Then if you go to condition 13, it says the details of existing lighting required by condition 8 shall include a layout plan with beam orientation, but it doesn't actually specify what you want that to be in either of those conditions. And my concern with this is as you drop down Linton Hill, you are actually entering a dark sky area. But when you now look to the left in this kind of vicinity, you can see more and more bright external lighting that actually stretches for quite a long way. And there's a lot of birds of prey species. There's red kites been spotted in this area recently. So my concern is really that the external lighting be focused down, because a lot of them are straight out, and also that it be minimised as much as possible. And I don't know the detail of all of that, but I'm just not sure that between condition 8 and condition 13, we've quite tightened that up enough to make sure that it isn't having an impact on the dark sky area.
Thank you, Councillor. We can, as part of the condition, amend it to include more specific details for that site. And thanks.
Thank you. I'd be happy then, because I'd just rather you get the plan and look at it and approve it in accordance with, you know more than me on this, but I think that would be a good thing to do. Thank you.
So, yeah, okay then. In that case then, I believe based on the officer's comments there, we can obviously look to amend those conditions in 8 and 13, so we have a more specific plan for the lighting. Does anyone else wish to speak on that at all? If not, do we have a proposer? Councillor Real, the seconder? Councillor Cleaver, yeah? Yeah, with that change, yeah. Okay then. Okay, we'll move to the vote. All those in favour? So that's 11 unanimous vote for. Thank you. Okay, so that's most of the planning items. So moving on to item 19 for the appeals list. I call upon Tony Ryan, Planning Applications Manager, Development Management, to introduce the report.
Yeah, my only comments really are in terms of the first two items, the White House and the Marley Road application, both in Kent Downs National Landscape. In terms of the White House application, yeah, with reference to Councillor Russell's point about external lighting, the inspector made a point about the amount of glazing in the proposed buildings and the impact that would have on the night sky. So that's a relevant point. The inspector goes on about the kind of encroachment of these two these two applications, and goes into detail about the impact on views. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak or ask any questions on those at all? No? Okay then. Yeah, we're closing the meeting. Okay then. Right, I think that's it. We've attended everything on the agenda there. So apologies for the bit stop-start nature of that. As you can imagine, I don't get to chair these very often. So thank you everyone for your time. I bring the planning committee meeting to a close. Thank you.